Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Up Close on METV. I'm Charles Clapsaddle, Station Manager for Manatee Educational Television. And on this edition of Up Close, we're very fortunate to have with us Linda Craig. Linda, thank you so much for joining us. Linda is the Director of Minnesota Operation Troop Support, or MOTS for short, which is a wonderful organization that does great service for this community and for our armed forces. Linda, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is a wonderful organization that does a lot of great work, and I want the community to know about the extent of the services that you provide. Before we begin to get into the details, tell us a little bit about what MOTS is, when you formed it, and what its mission is.
Well, actually, MOTS is a grassroots organization, and it started at King Middle School with a teacher, Jim Kumkowicz. So I personally did not start it, I kind of jumped onto his mission. And his son had been grievously injured, and he came back from Walter Reed Memorial Hospital, and he thought, and he said, our community can do something more for our local veterans. And so he started working out of his classroom.
That's right.
And he packed boxes. His idea was at least we could send them a care box each month.
Right.
It wasn't just about the food they were going to get. It wasn't about the toothbrushes. It was also about the hope that it brings. Many, many young men and women don't get anything from home for whatever reason. And so he started there. He used his own home. He used a church. And then asked people, begged people for money, donations. Then my son became involved by joining the infantry. So I was looking for something. I have to honestly say it was probably more therapy for myself as much as it was trying to help my son and others like him. So on the same day that I was going to call Jim Kumkowicz at King Middle School, which is my son's school when he was younger, he called me.
Correct.
So it was like something that was meant to be.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is that we remember when Mr. Kumkowicz started the program. He did a lot of it out of his classroom for a while, and he was a special
needs
teacher, and he had his young people working with them, and it was very rewarding for those young people to be doing something for their country, for their.
And they received the Spirit of Manatee Award.
That's correct, and it was a wonderful event. But since those, and if I may say so, those humble beginnings. MOTS has really kind of struck a chord here in Manatee County, and it's kind of grown and it's kind of developed, you know, a lot thanks to your leadership and the people that you have involved with you. And we want to talk a little bit in detail about that, but first of all, let's talk about what MOTS does for our troops and who it serves. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Minnesota Operation Troop Support has a mission, and this is Jim's original mission, and that is to support veterans, military troops who are deployed to the Middle East, this particular conflict, before, during, and after deployment, and their families. So it's very pointed, but it's also very broad.
And you know, it serves a wide variety because you have returning veterans, you have people on active duties, and you have like an important component, which is the families who wait. And that's a really critical part of the equation, I think, too, is to be able to help families.
Yes.
So, and some of the things that MOTS does is pretty extensive. I think people may know about the fact that you do, you know, boxes and you send troops, and I want you to tell us about some of those things. But there's a wide variety of other efforts that you do as well.
Right. Well, in addition to making sure they get this box full of wonderful things, we open it up, our building, our warehouse, once a month to a monthly packing party. Now that's not just to get the boxes filled and taped up. That's to bring together the people in our community who have people deployed. We have soldiers come back who want to say thank you. We have people who come and say, hey, I think I can help. I work for so-and-so. I think they'll help. So it's a monthly touchstone. And even mothers come because their son is going to be deployed. So they find this instant group of people who understand their feelings.
And kind of a shared purpose.
It really is a shared purpose. And it only takes about 30 minutes, but people hang around afterwards. We have small facilities that are donated generously to us by Lakewood Business Park. But it's like a beehive. It's a small area. People are close together. They kind of are forced to get to know each other. They talk to each other.
Right.
And then they take back that into the community,
Right.
wherever they work. And on top of that, we're very personalized. If John is going, I know the magazines John wants, the candy he likes, which kind of Red Bull he wants. And so each person coming through that's packing for John or Bill or Sally knows, here's my list. I got to make sure these things get in this box.
What a great idea to do that. I mean, when that service member receives that box, it has that personalized touch that is really, rewarding for them to do that. So you get all that information from a variety of different sources, I would imagine.
From them or their mother or their niece or whatever, and we serve the two-county area. If you have a family tie, whether it's an uncle, a grandpa, whatever. So we have a constant influx of new people. Some people drop off. It may be 20 people, it may be 60 people, but it works no matter how many people you have.
Correct.
And then we have school children. I go into the schools and write letters because I have many, many, many soldiers who tell me, I don't care if you stop sending me food or dental floss, but don't stop sending the mail. So mail call is still the same as it was in the Civil War times, World War I, World War II. It's a connection.
Very much so, and I would think that for a service member serving in a war zone, miles away from their family and their friends, to get a note from a school child saying thank you for your service, or how are you doing? Come and visit us when you get. That's got to be so rewarding for a young man or woman serving their country.
And when they come back, they do come back and visit us. We have a fireman, and the kids go to see the fireman. The other thing that this does is it brings public service, military service, straight to the people who come. We have one family that brings their 2 young boys for the last 3 years every month, and they are learning service to their military. And every month they put in a picture of themselves at the beach. They make a hand-drawn picture. And guess what? They're the ones who get the most letters back from the servicemen. So they have that connection. And then people come to me and they'll say, gee, wouldn't it be nice if we could get the wives together? So I'll, get everybody invited to Panera Bread. We get the kids, we put flowers on the table. And again, these new people coming into a place where there is no base, there is no support system for them here. They get to exchange numbers, Facebook, they start having their little play dates together. So it's a starting point. It's a great starting point.
It's kind of like an extended family.
It really is.
And where you can interact, because I would imagine, and Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, that when you're a service family member and you can share your anxiety or your concerns with another service family member who may be in the, you have that sense of, I'm not in this alone.
That's right.
And how important is that?
Well, it can be just as simple as someone back home right now, Sherry, for instance, she has MS and she's waiting for 2 months for her husband to come home. If Sherry needs something, she knows she can call me. If she doesn't feel good enough to go get her infusion at the hospital, she knows she can call me. On the other hand, we have a young man who's missing right now in the States, Mason Van Kuken. And his mother had called the base, trying to find, it's been 4 months now. And she called me one day and I was just down the street and she said, I'm sitting in front of your office. I don't know who else to talk to. I understand those fears. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just someone who grew up in the service, has a son in the service, and I've served 350 troops so far in our area, and I've gotten the phone calls, and I answer my phone 24/7, and these are my people. These are my babies. These are my families.
Well, not only that, I think you have an affinity, and an understanding of what some of these people go through, and have the resources to try to help. And I think that's a critical thing. Now, you mentioned a number so far that you've served over 350?
Yes.
How has that grown? What was your first numbers?
Well, our first number was probably 38 in 2007, and it's funny, the goal now is the same as it was before. It's to find the troops, because that's not a publicly announced thing.
Right.
We keep those names and numbers private.
Correct.
Because it's national security.
Right.
To find the food to send to them and the goods, and then to find the money to send it. It's all exactly the same, just like
so
any
the
other
process
charity.
is the same.
It's exactly
it's
the
just
same
kind
process.
of grown.
But everybody, the community has jumped on board, and they help us. And right now, I don't have to go out in front of Sam's and say, would you buy me a can of tuna so I can send it? My warehouse that is donated is filled with donated food every single month. So this community has stepped up.
And you know, we both know that Manatee County is a very generous community and really gives back, and it's a very patriotic community as well. But we want to talk about a little bit about the support that you have received. And that support is pretty broad-based. I mean, it's the volunteers, it's the donors, it's sponsorships and everything, which is critical to the continued success that you have. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the volunteers, which you briefly touched on.
Well,
these are people from all different walks of life.
They are. It can be children. Children can be very important, just drawing their letters. I have one woman who's retired. She's 71. She does all of the postage. She does it online, which saves us some money. She figured it all out herself, and she personally takes it to the post office. We have another man in his 70s. He's a workhorse. He comes in twice a week. He counts all the merchandise, and he pushes it and sorts it.
Wow.
We have people, of course, who come to the parties. We have people who take cans to their work and ask for donations. Walgreens has a program where they have people buy a candy bar for a troop, so I spend a lot of time going around picking up food.
All the different Walgreens and picking that up?
In my area. Dollar Tree helps me. I'll be handing out as many school supplies as our veterans need. I'll probably have so many, I'll share them with my closest schools in Manatee County and Manatee Children's Services, whoever needs them. So I end up kind of helping other people along the way too. Smart Riders Therapeutic Horseback Riding Program in East Manatee. They provide free horseback riding lessons for veterans and their children. We only don't do it in the summer because it's very, very hot. And that's a very empowering experience. And Gail out there has been very, very good to include us.
Well, we did a program about SMART and
Yes.
out there, and it's a wonderful organization. And their initial mission was to help children, physically and mentally disabled children, but they've expanded that mission to help returning veterans. To get back. It's a wonderful program, and continued success to them. We hope. But one of the key things that allows you to do is your major sponsors.
My major sponsor,
organizations
first of all,
that have really stepped forward to do. And talk a little bit about who they are.
Well, Lakewood Business Park is number one. Without them, I could not operate. And when I had a huge grant in 2009, $179,000 to spend for just that 1 year, I could pay rent. But after that, I said, so they offered. And so DeSoto Crew, they gave us a portion of the proceeds of getting into this year's Seafood Fest. That was a $7,000 check.
That's great.
We've, of course, got some stores that donate. Churches have a heart for our mission. Children, schools. There's small clubs in mobile home parks who will send me a check for $1,000 because they had a garage sale. We have one young man who collected down in the north part of Sarasota County, and he brought in $3,000 worth of food.
Wow.
That's a lot of food.
That's really impressive.
So we have so many. We have veterans clubs, obviously, who help us. The Elks Club, Anna Maria Oyster Bar, 106.5 is very good to us. There's just so many people, and if they don't help, it's probably because they've never heard of us.
And, and that's a good point too, and I want to take a moment here. If you're an organization, big or small, that's interested, not only what your mission is of serving, active duty and, the returning vet. If you're an organization, a business, small business, large business, and you want to get involved with Minnesota Operation Troop Support, how can they do that? How can they find out some additional information?
Well, they can call me. I answer my phone all the time, 941-782-0748. And sometimes they have an idea of what they'd like to do, and sometimes I have to give them an idea. And they'll say, what do you need? Do you need money? Do you need product? Do you need help? So it depends on what they have to offer and what they feel like they want to offer.
Right, exactly. And I think that you can kind of define what your needs for the mission is.
And of course, Lakewood Ranch steps up every year with the Tribute to Heroes Parade, in which has gotten bigger and bigger, and people bring food to that, so that I have got food for the first 3 months of the year at least.
Wonderful.
Don't have to worry those first 3 months after that. And then some vendors there donate profits. John Breyer at Ed's Tavern is a wonderful coordinator. Lori Basiloni, from Lakewood Community Activity Center.
Wonderful.
She coordinates many things, and they spread the word too. So it depends on what the business wants to do. If they want it to do financially, sometimes people are afraid to give money to something they're not sure of. So I tell them, why don't you come in?
And that's a good point.
Why don't you come in and see the pictures on the walls of everything that we've done and the lessons that we offer and the children we've served and all the articles that have been in the paper. Everybody gets their news somewhere else. Some people only look at Facebook. Some people only look at TV. Some people, Channel 7 has been wonderful. If there's something in the news, they call me and say, would you like to comment?
Excellent.
So,
so there's a wide variety of opportunities for businesses to participate, whether from a monetary point of view, or they can contribute, to something, as a product that you may be able to use.
Or if they want us to be a sponsor, if they want to sponsor us for like a golf tournament or something.
Exactly. And to be the recipient of that thing. And I think that's good. And also, people need to be aware that this is a continuing effort. This isn't just seasonal. This is a year-round effort. And businesses, large and small, should take an opportunity to find out how they can help. Now, the other side of the coin of that is individuals. The mission that you do, the packing that you do, the outreach that you do, I would imagine that you would need volunteers, people who would like to contribute their time and their effort to help you. And how do they get in touch with you?
They call me, and again, we have that little interview, and they'll say, "Don't put me out in front of the public," or "I'd rather do office work," or "I would love to go get certificates for you. I like to go and put together raffle baskets."
Good.
So I think that's the key, is to let people do what they really enjoy doing. And
you can always use volunteers, correct?
Always, always. And the first thing they usually start with is a packing party, because that gives them a feel for what they're jumping into. The other thing that businesses can do that I have to mention is they have to remember that when our veterans get home, they need jobs.
That's a good point. And I think also, that you're kind of like a tip of the spear in a little bit. Not only are you offering, support during a deployment, but you're also doing follow-up stuff with returning veterans as well. And I think that's critical, because we have large numbers of veterans returning to the country now, and they need opportunities, they need outreach, they need people and resources that they can take advantage of.
And I have a lot of resources. I know who to refer them to. I do have young men come in with uniforms still on, just got off the plane, and they've got nobody, and they come in and sit down and they say, "I'm here.
How can I move on?"
And sometimes they start to school. Sometimes it doesn't work the first time around, because they need some more time. So sharing their experience is important, so that's why I put together a guitar group.
Oh, good.
It's not about the guitars. It's not about learning your chords.
It's about the group.
It's about the group. Yeah, because sharing is going to help them.
Now, Linda, one of the key things, since you've been involved for so many years now, is what kind of feedback do you get from the families and from those returning veterans that kind of measure your success?
Well, we get them come back to visit. We get letters of appreciation. We get flags flown over Afghanistan on 9/11 with thank you notes. We get new babies that come in that they show off. We get invited to parties. We get invited lots of times to be a part of their lives when they come back home. And even then when they go on to another base, they still keep in touch with us. They stop back in to see us when they're in town. A lot of times I know they don't have the time, but it's really nice when they do.
Well, and I think too, it's those individuals' way of saying thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the service that you did, for the effort, and for the thoughtfulness of being able to reach out, perhaps when no one else will. And I think that's a real important part.
And it's not just when no one else will, it's maybe when it's at a point in your time when you really need it. My son called home and when he was in Iraq, and every week he would call home and he tried to tell me everything was okay. And one day he called me and he said, "It's not been a good week." And I could tell someone had passed, it had been really hard, and his voice sounded really harsh. And I said, "What is it?" And he says, "Does anybody even remember we're here?" So this is a big part of our mission, is to let people know that no, the war in Iraq did not end our military being involved in the Middle East. They're still separated from their families. Their families are still suffering. When they come back or when they leave, there's children in schools and teachers and everyone who's affected by this military deployment.
And will for some period of time as well.
Yes.
So you have a continuing effort and a continuing challenge ahead of you, you know, to be able to provide the measure of support that you've done so far. And that's one thing I want you to take a moment to talk about, Linda, is, you know, what are those challenges that you're facing and have faced and you want this community to know about?
Well, the challenge is to keep finding the people that I need to serve. I have to use my network of my community to do that. I think they'll still keep giving product if we stay out in front of their faces all the time. But like any other charity, we need funds. We need funds. We do it literally on a shoestring. And in a way that's good because the community has been forced to
rise to the challenge.
Embrace it. Yeah, to embrace it. So I'm proud of that.
Well, I would encourage those organizations, both large and small, that are out there, you know, to perhaps find out a little bit more about MOTS, perhaps go to a packing party. I'm sure it's a great camaraderie type of event where they can become involved and see the full measure of what you're doing each and every day, and to find out how they can be able to support you in whatever way is possible for them. Now we're kind of winding down a little bit, and I wanted you to take a few moments. This is a wonderful mission. A lot of people think, and you know, oh, it's very patriotic to do things like that, but this is more than that. This is kind of an individual mission that really connects to that young soldier or airman or sailor who's out there, and gives them a, you know, the thought that there's somebody that cares, whether it's a letter, whether it's a shoebox filled with their favorite things. It's a measure of care. What do you want this community to know about the importance of MOTS and its continuing mission?
Well, I want them to know, first of all, that the mission still continues. We're not done. We're not done. I have a passion for it. If people feel the same way that I feel about the military, even if they don't have anyone in the military, there's 1% of the people in the country who are helping keep the rest of us free and to be able to walk around and do what we want to do. And if you care about those folks, if you want to make a difference, look out and look at your neighbors. You'll probably see somebody. And even just on an individual level, if you say, "I'll mow your lawn for you because you're pregnant and your husband is in Afghanistan," all those things count.
Absolutely.
Those things make people know that you cherish what their family is trying to do.
Well, and that was very eloquent, and you know, it really, you know, cuts to the heart of the matter about, you know, why an organization like MOTS deserves the support and the admiration of this community for its continued mission. If people want to find out more, if they want to come and visit, or they need to come, to give us those numbers.
Sure, they can come and call and say, "I'm just curious," at 941-782 0748.
Correct.
And on a daily basis, I'm on Facebook all the time because soldiers connect with me,
Right.
mothers, wives. And then we have a website. It's a little bit limited. It's not updated a lot, but it's MOTS-online.org, where you can find contact information.
Wonderful.
And we appreciate and welcome any support. If you have the same passion we do, we want to meet you.
Well, it's a wonderful job, and I think the success of MOTS and what it continues to do, you know, is a lot to do with your leadership and your passion, drive, and commitment to make it successful and to serve those people that really would appreciate the efforts on their behalf.
Well, thank you, but I just tell people I drive the bus. Just everybody hop on the bus and we'll all get it done together.
Well, I would encourage people, you know, to find out more about it, either as a volunteer or as a sponsor or as a donor. And those are, you know, Manatee and Sarasota County have a lot of great people and a lot of great businesses that perhaps don't know so much about it. And we would encourage you, Linda, perhaps to come back maybe another time and with a couple of participants and talk about what MOTS has meant to them.
I would love to do that.
All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us and telling us a little bit about MOTS. And thank you for joining us on this special edition of Up Close on METV. For additional information about MOTS, go to the information on the screen and please contact Linda and see what you can do to support this wonderful organization. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on Up Close on METV.